When you read the script for the last scene of Series 2, did you know what would happen next?
We had an idea of what was going to happen, where the story was going to go, but it was still very much in its sort of early stages and sort of prototype as such. So we had an inkling, but we didn't have the detail, obviously, that we have now.
Okay. Series 3 is set in 1983, eventually. What sort of themes are there this series? Last year it was very much about corruption.
Well, we tend to sort of, with this show, we tend to have a story of the week, which involves, well, anything. Could be bank robbery or vice or whatever, and then with obviously the underlying arc of where the whole story is going and the relationships and what Gene Hunt's all about, and Alex Drake and the team. So it's pretty much carrying on from that. We've got, for instance, we've got an ANC storyline, which was quite prevalent in the early 80s, just before the release of Nelson Mandela. We touch on the Falklands thing, again, because that was still having its aftermaths, and some of the political sort of stories that were going around with Thatcher and the miners, the unions, riots, etc. So there's some of the themes that we've got in this series.
Okay, and Danny Mays is on board as well.
Yeah.
What's his character like?
His character, he plays another DCI called Jim Keats, and he comes into the story from the beginning. He's right through this series, and he's there to, he's there to cause a bit of trouble, I think, from Gene's point of view. He's sort of Gene's nemesis in many respects, and it's a battle of wills as to who sort of will come out fighting, I suppose.
Okay. How does Gene's relationship with Alex develop this series?
Well, it sort of carries on in many respects as it always has done. It's sort of frosty. It's sort of love-hate relationship, I guess. But all the time they're learning more about each other. They're learning the whys and wherefores, and she's sort of there to sort of guide him through, really, as it turns out, as it pans out, as to his destiny.
Okay, we know this is the final series. Were you ever approached about another spin-off? Did you have any thoughts about how you might react to that if it was proposed?
No, I wasn't. I think we all agreed that this would be, the final jolly as such. We felt that we'd taken the series and, Gene's story as far as we could, without sort of repeating ourselves and just treading over old ground. And I think also the fact that we've moved it on a year to 83, anything nearer would have been too soon. And one of the great appeals of the show is the nostalgia value, which we had in Mars with the 70s and now with Ashes in the 80s. And we just felt that you'd lose a strong sense of identity with the show if we went any closer to the present, really. So it was pretty much a unanimous decision. It was a tough decision because, he's a great character to play, and it's been 5 years of my life, and even longer for Matthew and Ashley, the writers, who since the conception of Mars, they've been at this for probably 9 years, So it was a tough call, but, all good things come to an end, and we just wanted to go out kind of on a high, hopefully, and while we still had something to say, and finish it off, and not just end up, with series 10, season 10, whatever, and where people have sort of lost interest and the character just becomes sort of a cliche, really.
Okay. I spoke to Matthew a few weeks ago, and he said this series of Ashes should feel like the 5th series of Life on Mars. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, very much so. It's sort of come full curve, I suppose, and it does feel more of an essence of Mars, It's quite dark in places. It's still got its humour, there's still some great moments of kind of comedy, but it's got pathos, and it's got a thrillerish element, hopefully. I mean, the beauty of it is it's sort of character-driven at the end of the day, which is the main thing. But it's got all those elements of the spaghetti western, the sci-fi kind of arc, and just hopefully a good old story coming to a conclusion.
How did you feel when you read the final scenes?
Well, we had a sort of read-through, a very sort of close-knit, small read-through just before Christmas of the last 2 episodes, and it was good. You know, it's a difficult one because we've been on this since September, and it's a pretty tough old shoot, so you don't have too much time to think about it, to allow your emotions to get in the way of the job you're doing. So I think it will hit us much more when we've actually finished filming, which will be next week.
Okay, and as a story resolution, how do you think the fans will react?
I've no idea. That's not my job, really. I can only do what's written on the page and, try and play it the best way I can. I mean, it's a tough call when you're ending a series like this and you've got a very strong fan base, and we've tried to do our absolute best, and hopefully they won't be disappointed. There may be some. It's always a tough call, but we can only do our best. And we're very aware of giving them a good story and trying to please them, and hopefully we've done our job.